Hi folks, welcome to Boating on a Budget with me, the tight Yorkshireman.
And me, Dawn.
Well, the last episode we had, Dawn, we started fitting the log burner, didn't we? We were chopping holes in roofs and things like that.
You were? I were catching sparks.
Well, yeah, and being on fire duty. But when we were filming that, we expected really the fitting of the log burner to just be one episode, didn't we? We thought obviously what we were doing, just going to one video. But because of the amount of footage we created, largely because things didn't quite go to plan, as they never do, it basically meant in the end we decided we'd be better doing two shorter videos rather than one long boring video. Because obviously these shorter ones aren't boring,
No,
are they?
it just makes two boring ones.
Yes, indeed. So basically this is a continuation of that last video, which if you've not watched, there's a link in the description below, you can go and see it. The thing to bear in mind as well is the first little bit of footage we show kind of doesn't... Well, it was intended to just follow the last bit of footage, if that makes sense, so the continuity is a bit weird. You'll grasp it in a second. The main reason for doing these works though was we're just wanting to change the layout a little bit, weren't we? So I think we'd explained previously, when we bought the boat and even before we looked at it, we kind of thought where the log burner was, which was right down at the bow, that pointy bit, meant that all the heat is sort of captured down there when the log burner's on and it's quite chilly, and as you walk down the boat you can obviously feel it gets cooler and cooler.
Definitely felt a difference.
So what we thought was move the log burner to the midships, not the pointy bit, and that would then even it out. And it also meant that we could go for more of what's known as the reverse layout in terms of boating, which is having the bed right down at the front, pointy bit.
Yeah.
So all in all, it meant that we could get the right layout for what we wanted, and we could redistribute that heat evenly.
Yeah. And it does.
Yes, since we've done it, because obviously we're filming this after we've actually done it and we've used the log burner a dozen times at least since, haven't we?
Yeah.
I think though, we should probably stop waffling and just let them watch the video.
You're the waffles.
I know I waffle. We now skip forward to the following day, where we'll carry on with this project. Obviously the outside is now by and large done. It's now time to concentrate on the inside, and you can perhaps just about see we've got a piece of steel that we're going to use as the hearth. At the minute it's a bit old and rusty, like we had on Leander Lady. I like that look. Not sure if we're going to clean it up on here or keep it as it is. We'll decide that as we go along. We've also got, just behind here, we've got the calcium silicate board. This is the heat-proof boarding that we need to put... Oh, I'm shuffling about this morning. We need to put against this wall and that wall, which is where most of the heat obviously from the fire is going to be. This does need an air gap behind it, so between the boarding and the wall we have to put some spacers in to leave an air gap that stops that heat transfer as well. I think first off then is going to be measure up this section, which is, it's not square, slightly off square. Get this board cut and we can get that one in place and then see what we need to do for the rest of it. And I think Dawn needs to put the kettle on. Don't you, Dawn?
I'll do that.
She'll do that. Well, that's the first piece cut, and that'll sit in there just like that. Obviously I've cut it short deliberately because we need the air gap there as well. Like I said, there's going to be another board there, but I think Dawn's made me my brew. Thank you very much, Dawn. Next job for this then is to pilot drill some holes through that'll screw it in, and then just behind Dawn there I've got some thick chunky washers that will act as the spacers. So once we've pilot drilled this, I'll just use a little bit of no nails, the grip fill sticky stuff, just to hold it on the back while we then put the screw through, and like I said, that'll stand that away and give it the air gap that it needs behind it. Does that all sound sensible, Dawn?
It sounds great.
Do I sound like I know what I'm actually talking about?
I'm hoping you are.
Well, I fitted the one on Leander Lady and that didn't burn down.
No.
So pilot drill, no nails. Let's get cracking.
Let's get cracking.
I'm only putting a few screws in to hold this for now, because we're not actually finishing this, are we, as such? We're not putting any tiles or anything on just at the moment. We're just getting the log burner moved, because the priority is to get the boat set up how we want it, really, isn't it? With the bed down that end, the seating at this end. The actual finishing of this might well be a project when we've done our summer adventure.
Yeah.
So for now, it just needs to be held in place.
It needs to be workable.
Yeah, it wants to be workable and obviously safe. But we don't need loads of screws, because chances are it's going to come off at a later date and then be sort of resorted. So just a few screws just to hold it in place for now.
So are you going to put big washers on there? Because screws are going to go straight through, because that's quite soft, isn't
No,
it?
just so it'll countersink the screw.
Oh, okay.
So now just popped a screw in each one of them holes so it's sticking up. So if I put a little blob of the good old no nails, and then Dawn puts one of them spacers on each one of them, the no nails will just hold it in place just while we stand it into position. And then obviously the screw will hold everything in place. I'll do these last three then, shall I? A screwdriver at the ready, cupper at the ready. I don't want to nip these screws up too tight, because this boarding is actually quite brittle.
It is, yeah.
And if I just stick the screw straight in, it'll just split the board. So just nice and gentle.
Brilliant.
First one in. Second one just needs to cut to height. Obviously there's no angles to cut on that. Flying through it. We'll have the log burner fitted by lunchtime. And here we have the second piece cut. It's that one. I'll just fit in there nicely. I don't think we'll bother filming that bit though, because obviously as you can see from where the camera is, all you're going to see is our backsides while we're in that corner.
And that won't be good.
There we have it. That's the basic fireplace built. We've got the heat-proof boards in. We've got that metal plate down at the minute. And we've got the collar up there, which has got a plate over the top because we didn't know if it was going to rain overnight. I think the next stage then is to dismantle the log burner.
I can't wait for that.
This is either going to be really easy or really hard. But I think what we're going to do is, we are unfortunately probably going to have to do it off camera, because again, it's kind of tucked in this corner, and no matter where I put the camera, half the time you're just going to be looking at our back. But in essence, we need to get the flue disconnected there, which should just be held on with those ropes. And then there's a couple of screws down the bottom that hold the feet in place. And it should come out relatively easily. And then we can position it back over there. I think we're at the stage now where Dawn can do the ceremonial removal of this chimney, because obviously this is the chimney that was on when we bought the boat, and we've kind of been clinging on to it just because we wanted to put the new chimney that we bought on once we'd moved the actual log burner. I think, as you can see, we probably got every penny's worth out of that one, didn't we? So would you like to do the honours?
Oh.
I'm not sure it's so much as removing it as just dismantling it.
I can't, it's falling to pieces.
Hey, are you hold the camera?
I'll take over.
I think it'd need a very good welder to get that sorted out. Guess what? It's not going to plan. This is firmly fastened in place from the outside, as you'll see in a minute. So let's get this framework off and let's see what we can do. So this is the flue pipe that goes up, and this is the bottom of the collar, which is the same as the collar that I fitted over there. What you can do when you're fitting these, and what it was in my intention, now I've done it in the past, is you just have the flue going up and then you put fire rope, which is like a heat proof rope, in between the two, and it sort of seals it in place, makes a heat proof and watertight seal. What somebody's done here is they've filled it with what looks like some sort of silicone sealant. Obviously with the rope you just pull the rope out and then you can move this, so that now looks like it's going to be an absolute nightmare, because it looks like the whole of that collar is full of sealant, which I'm going to have to kind of poke out and break through and what have you. So that's just turned a nice easy job into my day's project.
It is not a project.
It's not a project. No, so I think I'm just going to have to try and get in there with knives and screwdrivers and various other bits and bobs, poke out all this sealant until it eventually moves and we can get it free. Well, that were easy, weren't it, Dawn?
As far as every step up with pizza.
Yes, not easy at all, and as you'll see we've not even really finished yet, but we have got the log burner sat roughly in the place it's going to be. Obviously the collar's up there, log burner down there, sat on the metal plate so it's nice and safe with the heat resistant board round it. A couple of bits we've got to do yet is we need to get up the old hearth, which I think is a couple of pieces of slate, which is really nice. Unfortunately it's almost certainly going to break those as we get them up, which is a real shame. But then if we go outside into the sunshine, we can see that's the collar and the flue. I ended up having to completely unbolt this collar from the roof and lift it off that way. We do now need to see if we can get the collar free from the flue pipe, otherwise we're going to have to go and buy a new flue pipe. And we don't like spending money, do we, Dawn?
I do.
Well, you do, but not on flue pipe. You'd rather spend it on shoes, wouldn't you? Shoes and handbags. But yeah, so let's have a bash at that hearth, see if we can get the old one out of the way, and then we'll have a bash at this flue pipe. My plan of attack for this then is, I've got an old axe here, so don't panic. Although at some stage I do want to clean this up. But an old axe, I'm going to try and get it under there and give it a little tickle with the very small hammer that we've got, and just see if it'll pop it up. It would be great if we could save these, maybe use them for something else in future, but I do have a feeling that it's just going to go choing and smash all over the place, especially with the look we're having today. Don't know if the camera's picking it up, but I can actually hear the sealant giving way as I'm doing it. First bit out in one piece. just spotted this board that they're fastened to is screwed to the floor. So I think it's continue on trying to do that top bit. As predicted, it's broke. We got one out in full though. That's the hard bit, I think, now, just to find the screws, get this board out of the way. That might be a job for you, Dawn.
Thank you, Peter.
Well, we've tried all that we can to free that collar off the flow pipe, and it's just not happening. So I think plan B, although I think we'll be on plan B already, is to cut the flue pipe off flush there. Then we'll have to call to one of the chandlers and get an extension piece. Quite often flue pipes are made up in separate sections, just this one was all one piece, but there's nothing else for it. Chop it down and get an extension. Well, in typical winging it fashion, we now have to jump forward a few days, because when we cut this pipe down, which you can see we have now actually got a log burner fitted, when we cut that down we went to get an extra piece for it, didn't we, and tried a few different chandlers and things that sell these sort of things, and ours was different to everyone else's.
But it weren't not gonna be,
We wouldn't have expected anything else. As most flue pipes, 4 on boats, are either 4-inch diameter or 5-inch diameter. Some are 6-inch, and ours is 4.5-inch, which meant we couldn't get the right part anywhere local. So as you'll see up at the top, we've had to use a stainless steel section, haven't we?
Yeah.
Perfectly alright, does the job, just meant we couldn't pick it up somewhere close by. You might also be thinking, well, why didn't we show fitting the actual log burner? And there's a few reasons for that, isn't there?
We've already done it.
We've already done it on a previous video, which
Yeah.
I will link to at the end of this video, so if you watch that one you can actually see us fitting it. Part of the reason as well though is, when I put that video on originally, which is 2 or 3 years ago when we fitted the log burner on Leander Lady, I got loads of comments from people saying, you shouldn't have done that, you should have done this.
Yeah.
Which we always get a little bit of, and we understand, you know, people do different things a different way. But we're getting lots of criticisms about how you should actually fit a log burner safely. And to be honest, I don't need all them comments again. You know, you can never be too careful, but this is actually
We're
now the
always
fourth.
careful.
Yeah, and this is
Always
the
careful.
4th time I've actually fitted one of these. Touch wood, nothing's ever happened to them.
No.
And I did tons and tons of research and checked
yeah.
things before I even fitted the first one. Things to do with using the right heat-proof boarding, the air gaps, the distances and things like that, using the right sealants and everything. So in essence, we didn't show filming it so that we don't get lots of why did you do that, but there is a video that you'll see at the end if you want to watch that, that shows us actually fitting one.
Yeah.
You can link
And then
back to that
comment
and have a
saying,
watch.
why did you do that?
Yeah, you can comment on that video that we've already got all the comments on. And if you can hear something in the background, that's actually Dawn's ice machine, because finally the sun's shining. Dawn wants her ice machine on so that she's got ice in her drink. On that first video that we did, what was the main comment that people put on there?
Why is it in front of a window?
Why did we fit it in front of a portal? I would reckon 50% of the comments were that.
It was, yeah.
And it's perhaps a little bit clearer, or potentially clearer, now it's actually in position. that the actual flue is far enough away from the window that it still lets light in.
Yep.
And really, you're not going to stand in this corner to look out at the view when we've got side hatches either side anyway. So it's not blocking any view or anything like that. It's also far enough away again for the safety.
Safety issues, yeah.
The glass won't and doesn't get hot because we have used the log burner already. And it just meant that putting the log burner here was in effect the perfect position, because we wanted the bed down that end that the camera's currently sat on, the seating in the middle, next to the kitchen, which we've then got bathroom and storage at the end. If we put the log burner further down away from that window,
get more use out of the fire than we are out the window.
Exactly.
Aren't we?
Yes. And the window is still there doing what it needs to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if we'd moved the log burner further down or anything like that, we would have either potentially not been able to lay it out as we have, or not had enough room for a proper bed and things. So yes, it's in front of a porthole, but it's not affecting it in any way, shape or form.
Not at all.
And as you will see from how it's fitted, it does need a little bit of finishing off at the top there. As we explained on the first video, we're not actually going to finish this until we get back to our normal mooring after our trip around the network during the summer. So there's going to be a little bit of trim around there, and from a safety point of view as well, I must say, when we took it down from over there, that again you saw on the video, it was actually wood, plywood, that was immediately touching this.
Yeah.
And that hadn't set on fire in however many years the boat's been here. But we are going to replace it with something like steel, perhaps the same stuff as what we've got down as the half or whatever. But again, it will all be done. But that's again a little project for when we get back and we do the final finishing off. I think overall then, looking back to earlier in the video, one of the clips, when everything was going really well, I said, oh, we'll have this done by lunchtime. I didn't say lunchtime which day though, did I? And
it was a late lunch then.
It was clearly a late lunch. Many days later that we actually got it finished. But finished we did, and like we said, we've used it, I don't know, a dozen times or so since we actually installed it. It's all worked fine, all the sealants have sealed fine, everything's been brilliant.
No issue.
And most importantly, it's kept you warm.
It has, and stopped me moaning.
I won't go as far as stopped you moaning, just meant you can moan about different things. Which, coming to that, we are now going to be cracking on with, I think our next major job on this Knotter project is we're going to start painting the outside of the boat, aren't we?
I can't wait to do that.
Yeah, because to be fair, she looks very tired from the outside. A little bit of paint that we've got will smarten her up now, won't we?
Yeah, definitely.
There's also the talk of this boat tour that we keep saying about, and now the weather is brightening up, that means we can get everything out and set the boat up and make it all look nice, and do the video for the boat tour. So that'll also be coming soon. But I think for now, we've earned a few drinks. We're in a lovely spot, and we're going to have our first barbecue of the year.
Wow.
So we'll see you all later, folks. Thanks for watching.